All right, motherfuckers. Episode 59 of the Talking Shit podcast. I'm Dr. Evil.
I am Captain Paul. How's it going there, Evil?
There's a lot of shit going on in life. There's a lot of stories that we wanted to talk about, but I figured that when you look at a lot of the things that are going on in the NHL right now, um, that's a whole podcast episode in and of itself. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
you're a hockey player. I'm a
Yep.
hockey fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you can let the people know what your background is with the
Um,
sport.
I played throughout my whole life. I've been on skates since I was the age of 2, and I played selects, a lot of different things like high school hockey, a little bit of college, and I actually have a lot of friends of mine that ended up becoming AHLers. One actually became an NHLer a couple of years ago. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. I've also done some coaching now as I've gotten older, and that's been a lot of fun, kind of helping along the next generation of hockey players. But uh, long story short, played hockey my whole life. My favorite sport, a big passion of mine, and my passion. For the first time ever, I did a YouTube channel now, the Locker Room White at the Locker Room YT on YouTube, and that's been going really well too. But there's a lot of issues going on around the league concerning certain political, I would say, agendas, and felt like this be kind of a good avenue to have it on here, right,
Right.
where we can have an open dialogue with it.
Yeah, you were talking about how you wanted to kind of leave the locker room, and I just realized that the icon, you made it very clear that the locker room is a hockey channel. So
Yeah.
when you expand to other sports, you might have to change it.
Oh, I will. Yeah.
But I thought that uh, I know you want to keep it just about the game and kind of leave the politics out of it, and we do discuss a lot of political issues here.
Right.
Uh, my experience with hockey, I didn't have the same opportunities that you've had
Mm.
to play the sport, but I really got I got a lot of joy in watching and listening to Rangers games on the radio when I
Right.
was a kid, and then kind of expanding my knowledge of the game from when I was like, I want to say
Mm.
10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been a big Ranger fan for a long time, and I love I don't as much baseball being my first love and me being a huge Mets fan.
Mm.
Um, there is no experience like the Rangers at the Garden. There's just none.
Mm.
There's just none. Uh, I've been a big hockey fan for well over 20 years. Even though the places where I come from, that's not particularly the culture. You're not really supposed to like
Right.
hockey. Where I'm from, the racial background that I have, but it's the most exciting team sport in the country by
Mm.
far. I just don't understand, like, people don't get it. But anyway, um, there's a lot going on, and we actually did a video, but your headset wasn't working, and then we had like this echo problem,
Yeah, it was bad.
and yeah, and then it's just like and then like more stuff kept happening along the lines of that story, and now we've got more stories coming. So we're going to talk about the two stories that have something to do with each other. Uh, the NHL or some of its teams. I can't really tell if it's like an NHL
It's
thing.
more of a so it's more of an NHL. Like every team has a quote unquote pride night or something of that ilk. It's pretty much every team around the league. It's like an NHL diversity thing, right? And so yeah, this is more of like a league mandated thing.
Right. Well, I I remember seeing an advertisement on MSG, which is the local affiliate, the local regional cable network that airs the Rangers games, and I remember being annoyed that they were really trying to push this narrative, like
Mm.
Yeah, there's a lot of black hockey fans, and they had like a bunch of dudes standing on the stoop looking like drug dealers. Only one of them was wearing a Rangers jersey. And I'm like, the pandering. Come on, man.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah.
but then you look at what they tried to do here with I guess we could start. I believe we're talking about the Philadelphia Flyers.
Yeah, I mean, with the Philadelphia Flyers, I did a video on my channel about Ivan Provorov and talking about that situation. Essentially, he did not want to wear the Pride jersey, and he skipped pregame skate, the warm up skate, because those beliefs go against his belief system. Right? He's Russian Orthodox. In that denomination, they do not believe in homosexuality. They don't believe in supporting it. So his religious background, it's just that's not his thing. So he didn't do the pregame skate. And to be very fair to the Flyers and Tortorella, they all had his back and said he has the right to have his beliefs. Now, some of that found a little bit of backlash by the vocal minority on Twitter, saying, "Oh, he's a bigot. He's this. He's a phobe, like whatever." And I mean, when it kind of came down to it, the organization backed him, Tortorella backed him, and I mean, shoot, his jersey became the most selling jersey in the NHL for about a week or so. I mean, people were buying his jersey like hotcakes. It was going out of style. And I mean, and when it kind of comes down to it, in my opinion, I'm perfectly fine if people live alternative lifestyles and people like have different belief systems than I do. I mean, to me, as long as you're not hurting anyone, it's none of my fucking business what you do in your private life. I could care less. But we also have to allow ourselves to have the freedom and allow ourselves to allow other people to have different beliefs than you. I mean, not everyone is going to like you in this world. And I feel like, in my opinion, within this last decade or so, it's been become more important than ever to have everyone accept everyone, where that's just never going to be the case. Whether it be for different beliefs, whether that be even just how sometimes people look. Like, people are going to have prejudices or just a different line of thinking than you, and they might not like you, and you just have to learn to deal with that, in my opinion. Um, I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, when you're talking about the first thing you mentioned about the denomination of Christendom that he subscribes to, which is Russian Orthodox,
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the things, if we're going to be honest, let's just call a spade here.
Mm-hmm.
There is no branch of Christianity that supports
No.
uh, alphabet soup. So, you want to say, well, I'm Russian Orthodox. If you read the Bible is very clear on its stance on same-sex interactions,
Mm-hmm.
intimate same-sex interactions, and all of those things. The Bible is really, really clear. Now, you see in a lot of the spineless religious leaders trying to change the doctrine as if the Bible doesn't actually say what it says. It says what it says. So
Mm.
I believe that if you claim to subscribe to the religion, you should subscribe to all of it. And if there's part of the religion that you don't feel that you can adhere to, then you just don't believe in that religion, and that's fine. So I don't
Right.
think that there needs to be a lot of splicing when it comes to, oh, but what particular flavor of nah, it just doesn't support it. And if that's who you are, then maybe that's just not the religion for you.
Mm.
But we're trying to bend. You're trying to bend everything to the point where the belief system actually means nothing. If you're just going to change the doctrine that you said came from God, but you're just going to change it whenever some people whine about it, then you don't really have a doctrine, in my opinion.
I absolutely, I 100% agree with you. Not to cut you off, but when you see these non denominational churches come out and essentially throw out the whole religious Bible so it can make and accept everyone, I mean, that's just not the case, in my opinion. I think I mean, if you're gonna say you're Christian or Jewish or you know what I mean, or Islamic, I mean, these scriptures were made thousands of years ago at this point or some point, like obviously transcribed throughout the generations. But I mean, you can't just throw everything out the window. And I'm not saying to be hateful towards another human being.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you're not following the religious belief, then you're not really following the religion.
Right. Yeah.
It's
I
kind
mean,
of you're just making it a mosh posh of everything acceptable.
right.
And I mean, and like listen, I grew up Catholic, and I grew up in a very Catholic household, and there's nothing really wrong with that. But I'll be like, am I Catholic today? No, I'm not gonna sit here and say I go to church every Sunday. I mean, I believe in God,
Right.
right? But I'm
Right.
not gonna sit here and try to like, oh well, this is a new denomination or this is how Catholic like Catholicism is very clear with his viewpoints on certain things,
Right.
right? And I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, I'm still a Catholic. No, I'm not a Catholic, right? I
Right.
believe in God. I believe in a higher power, but I'm not gonna, if I don't agree with what's being taught, I'm not gonna just make it make sense for me. Oh, well, they didn't mean that in the Bible, or that's not how it really meant. I'm still a Catholic, but I just don't believe in those things. Like you got to accept
Yeah.
the whole religion, in my opinion, because if like I'd be lying to you today if I said I'm a Catholic, right?
Right.
So
I totally agree with you. There was a religious denomination that I followed as a child at my mother's direction,
right.
and I believed in a lot of the things that they taught. However,
Mm,
it wasn't such an issue of whether I agreed with the doctrine. It was my ability to follow through on
mm,
the behaviors that doctrine kind of outlines as what you need to espouse in order to be seen as one of them. So when
mm,
I knew that I could not live up to that standard, I just
mm,
left. Then it
mm.
doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make me bad. Is that it wasn't for me.
Exactly.
So, seditionalist says, and why amendments to laws are evil too. Well, the point that seditionalist is making here is that, religion should have the right to change their doctrines, whenever they see fit. But here's the difference. When you're talking about human beings, you know that the trends are going to go here and there. But if you're saying that this book was inspired by God and this word came from God, and you're changing God's word, then
Yep.
it means nothing.
I,
So that's the
exactly.
difference. Like if we're creating laws based upon what most people agree with, fine. But that religion was not built on that. The religion was built on these are the principles we're going to follow and we're going to keep to them strict. And if you can't,
Yeah.
then we excommunicate you. And that's it.
I mean,
I don't
and
understand why we have to try to,
mm-hmm.
make something what it's not in order to fit this group of people in. And when I see that kind of behavior, Paul, you know what that tells me? The non-denominational religions that you spoke about, you know what
Mm-hmm.
that tells me? That there is no higher power base to your religion. It's about
No.
it's about behavioral and financial control.
I mean, I would definitely agree, and I'll be honest with you, to kind of seditionalist point here. If it's inspired by God. Now we have politicians and lawmakers think they're God, but they're not God, right? So we can make amendments to their stupidity, right?
Right.
But if you're gonna base your religion on a certain faith, you need to be very kind of faithful or very loyal to that scripture. And that's like I said, just it's false advertisement in a lot of ways. And kind of getting into the Provorov situation and
Mhm.
why I was happy with how the Flyers and Tortorella handled it. Is like, listen, like he has the one thing we like about Provi is he is who like he's truly 100% himself, and he's not hateful, he's not inciting violence or anything of that ilk. Like this is just his belief system, and
Right.
I mean Provorov, I mean that was perfect how he came off in that
Oh yeah.
interview and how he handled like that was textbook perfect. Like
Yeah.
people that fuck like politicians need to figure out and like watch that interview and realize like okay that's an easy way to deal with a certain situation that might be a hot button subject. I mean
Yep.
he dealt with it like respectfully, tastefully, and perfectly.
With very few words.
Yeah.
He wasted no words. And I have to say this on one of the other points that you made. I believe that it is absolutely batshit insane that we've gone from as a society, and this is something that I agreed with. Hey, people who live alternative lifestyles should not be attacked. They should
Yeah.
not lose their jobs,
No.
depending on what job it is.
Mm-mm.
They should not be kept from having access to real estate or education or things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
But we've come a long way from just simply saying don't interfere with their lives and their legal abilities to live their life. Now it is, you're a horrible person if you don't celebrate somebody else's lifestyle.
Yeah.
That bothers me because everybody has, I remember they used to say this saying, um, if you like it, I love it, right? Like if you're into something, see, it's not for me, but you do you. But now we've gone into like this fucking bizarre world
Yeah. I
where
mean, yeah, you gotta
you
love it and you
need
gotta
to
accept it. Yeah.
celebrate and you need to love and you need to cheer, and I get to dictate to you how you feel about the way that other people live their life. I get to tell you how to feel. I get to tell you what to celebrate and what to enjoy.
Yep. I mean,
Mm.
it's
Mm.
baffling in a way, right? See, I have nothing against if the
Mm.
NHL wants to have these nights. Perfectly fine with it. If that's what you want to do, fine. But I mean, not everyone's gonna have the same response, and that's what you just have to understand. And you're gonna have players within your own organization or your own league that won't necessarily agree with that. And as long as you can respect everyone's belief system, right? That's fine. But just realize that guys like Provorov and maybe some of those we'll talk about in a second. The Rangers players maybe they didn't necessarily vibe with it. I don't know, but I mean when it kind of comes down to it, everyone has their own has the right to their own freedom of speech, right?
Right.
As long as you're not inciting violence and trying to like, oh well, we hate them and you should blah 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 blah. Like
Right.
none of that tolerant. That shouldn't be tolerated. But if
Right.
you just don't like, hey, it's just not for me. I mean, just keep it moving. It's not that big
Right.
of a deal.
I just don't. And when I was a kid and I looked at a lot of the things that other kids were doing in class,
Mm-hmm.
and and I'm talking about like middle school, high school.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I've kind of recognized in people is that if people really believe that what they're doing is right, they tend to not need the approval of other people. When
Yeah.
I was a kid, and the other kids were like starting to dabble in drugs and sex and things of that nature,
Right.
they always needed you to like sign on with them. Or if they were, getting into some beef with somebody else, they needed you to co-sign it. Otherwise, they were upset. And so
100%.
whenever I saw that mindset, I always had the reaction that if in order for you to feel comfortable with your position, you need me to co-sign it, then that means that you're not comfortable with your position. You don't believe in what you're doing. That's why you need everybody else to come together with this collective hive mind. So when I see this kind of thing, well, we need to attack this guy because, he's not celebrating our way of life. What that tells me is you're not really celebrating your way of life. You need the external validation in order for you to continue doing what you're doing because you're unsure of what you're
Right.
doing. And if you're unsure about what you're doing, then I have no opinion. You need to figure that out for yourself.
Right.
Because I see a lot of people
Yeah.
in the alphabet soup community, they don't need they don't need Provorov of the NHL's Philadelphia Flyers, who they never even heard of before. They don't need his approval. The people that I know that are actually living their life and that is their orientation or the way they see themselves, they're not looking at some NHL players fucking approval. They don't care
No.
because they're secure in what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it would be absolutely different if Provorov was going out there crazy saying some like inciting violence type shit, but that's just not the case.
Yeah, it's not the
And
case.
and I mean, like, it's actually funny of mine. This good friend of mine, Sarah. She, she lives. She's a lesbian and she's like married, and her and her couple like they're happy and all that. And she's like, I just don't care. Like, if he doesn't like whatever, it's no big deal to me. Like I said, she says, do I necessarily agree with his viewpoints? No, but I mean, he has the right to his opinion, regardless of how wrong I think it. And that's where we kind of need to get back to when it kind of comes to at least mainstream discourse, instead of being so hyperbolic or this
Right.
side versus this side. Like we need to have a little bit more common sense and just have a conversation, which we do here.
Right.
I mean, we both know with certain things you're more left leaning, certain things I'm more right leaning, but also
Mm-hmm.
with certain issues I'm a little bit more towards the left, and certain issues for you, you're more towards the right because we're both
Right.
human beings. We're all like we're shades of purple. It's not just
Right.
red, 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 or blue, blue, blue. Like there's gonna be certain things you're just like I kind of like this, kind of like this. It's making the perfect pizza in my opinion. This ingredient I like. This is trash. Picking away that. But I mean, when it kind of comes down to it, we just need to respect each other as human beings and allow people to have their own free thoughts.
Right. I
So,
mean, I love pineapple on pizza.
oh, oof,
You don't
oof,
have to,
oof.
right? But you know
I'm
what I'll
ending the
do?
show.
But but that's exactly it, right? That's exactly it, right? Like I just like the way that we used to do it, because the thing is, like, there are certain toppings that I like that the ladies don't, right? So you know what we do when we order it? We order a half or a quarter of the pizza has these toppings on it, and this other part has these toppings on it, and you can like what you like, and I can like what I like, right?
Exactly, and there's nothing wrong with that. And to be fair, I did try pineapple on pizza, and it wasn't great. But you know what I think would happen wrong? This quick side note. It was like from some pizza joint up in Maine, and that was the first mistake. So maybe I got to give another fair shake there. But yeah, like, when I was going to the academy, man, oof, pizza there was bad. But I mean, let's talk about the since we're on this
The
subject, let's talk
Rangers.
about the Rangers
Yeah.
because that was very interesting. Where you kind of talk about it. You're the Rangers fan, and you can kind of explore that conversation. We'll go into it.
Yeah. So I watched it. I watched the game, or most of the game. Blind Bat does not like Hawaiian pizza. If you guys could only know why that is funny, I can't reveal why that from him is really funny, but that's really funny. Anyway, so back to the Rangers. So I watched the game, and so the original plan was very similar to the Philadelphia Flyers plan of wearing some special rainbow-colored jerseys during the pregame skate.
Right.
And so what ended up happening is, we watched the game. When you watch it on TV, you don't really see the pregame skate. So you just see that, they wore their normal uniforms. They had an alphabet soup flag constantly wave, this massive alphabet soup flag waving throughout the whole game. And, they did all the pandering that they said they were going to do. But then I guess somebody noticed that they did not wear, as a team, they did not wear the jerseys during the pregame skate. Now, here's the funny thing. What percentage of the fans that show up to a hockey game show up early enough for the pregame skate?
Not many, honestly. Like
Give me a percentage.
Maybe 20, 30. I mean, it really depends on the night, but like unless like there's somebody of note coming into town, but generally like, not money, like 30. Like most guys get into their seats maybe 10 to 15 minutes before the game.
Right. And usually like the Zamboni has already came and gone. The players are coming out and in their actual game uniform, and they're kind of milling about, and they're about to do the ceremonial puck drop and all that stuff. Well, they really tried to make it this massive thing, this big controversy, that the team did not wear the alphabet soup jerseys in the pregame skate. And so we can only really speculate because he did not really, they did not really like go too far into it. They did their whole spiel with their pandering to a group of people that don't know they exist for the most part. And they just went along with the only thing they didn't do was the pregame skate. Now, the only thing I could think of, Kat, is that they either had a Provorov situation or they had 6 or 7 or 8 Provorovs, and they couldn't have a pregame skate with only 3 players in it, right? Yeah. So I believe that everybody should have the right to say, you know what? I'm not going to denigrate what you do, but you cannot force me to you cannot force me to promote anything that does not align with my views on the world. So
Right.
we've talked about it right here on this podcast, right, Cap, about how we're going to grow this thing and the kind of opportunities that will afford us should we and we're going to be really honest about this, right? Like a lot of these podcasts, they grow, they get to a certain level, they either contact a company or a company contacts them and they start talking about, hey, we'll start promoting, we'll do a commercial spot in our show or whatever, or in our videos.
Right.
And I've already said there are certain contracts that I'm not willing to take. I give you a great example. I was just telling JD about this before today's show. There is a company called Keeps that is supposed to be like, hey, you can get your hair back and, certain male focused things, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's a YouTuber I respect, Mediocre Tutorials and Reviews, aka MTR. MTR had a promotional contract with them to promote their products on his channel. Before Kevin Samuels died, he went on a different platform in Las Vegas called It's Complicated. We just reviewed in our last episode, right? And then they participated in the It's Complicated channel, and he did the video with them with Kevin Samuels. Now, that Kevin Samuels is a lightning rod. Once they saw him with Kevin Samuels, a woman took a burner account and then started on the Narstagram, the Twitter of Keeps. Oh, he's a misogynist and, he massages a lot of knees and he hates women and all this. Yeah. They didn't do any kind of research or nothing. They just cut the man's contract just like that. Right? Now, when I look at that, I'm like, well, I'm not losing my hair. But if there was any product that I could have used from them, I'm never going to shop there. And if they approach us, and I'm letting you know right now, Keeps, don't even bother. When we grow this thing and you see us with 5, 6, even 7 figures worth of subscribers, don't bother. We don't want to be affiliated with you because of what you stand on. I am not going to promote something when that is how they do business. I'm not going to be like, well, here's some money. I'm going to take this money, even though I don't like the way they do business. Don't even bother because you don't align with our values of let's do some actual research before you cut off a business tie and a contract, based off of a burner account because they didn't like that he was standing next to Kevin Samuels. Right. There are going to be some companies that I'm going to be like, you know what? You're never going to see an established titles commercial from us. You're never going to see that here, right? Because they're scammers. And we don't need the money that bad, right? We're going to stick by, right? Like we're going to stick by what we believe. And if it costs us money, so what? But you're not going to get us to promote something that we don't align with. Now, we're not saying that other people shouldn't use Keeps. What we're saying is we're not going to promote them. Could you imagine if people went on a smearing campaign because I'm like, this company doesn't do their research and voids contracts unfairly, and then they go to cancel us because of that? Could you imagine that?
It'd be pretty funny. I mean, so I guess no Raid Shadow Legends advertisement, but
don't bother.
I mean, when it kind of getting into the subject matter at hand is that when it comes to the Rangers. And the players not taking the pregame skate. Like most of the audience isn't even there yet. I mean, they still had all the in-game, jumbotron and representation and stuff like that. So I think the posturing of it and people making a bigger deal than it needs to be is a little ridiculous. I firmly believe everyone should be allowed to play hockey. Everyone should be able to play, but like they're really. To the point where you're super heavy-handed with some of these tactics, it gets the general population tired of it.
Absolutely. You want to address this from Seditionalists?
Depends on what's the contract. Does it say something about wearing a jersey designed to the team sees fit, or does the player have the right to not wear a certain outfit if he or/she does not like it? I mean, I'd have to look into because there's also character clauses within some of these contracts. I'd have to look at the NHL contract at great length. I don't really think there's a contract per se in there, but I also think there's one to freedom of expression and speech.
I was
That
about to go there, Cap. Thank you.
I mean, it's kind of it's a gray area until I look at the language. Now, most contracts will not restrict someone's freedom of expression or speech because that would be kind of limiting them, and we should not be living in a third world country where our athletes can't speak on whatever they want to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, there's a point there, but if you're signing that type of contract, well, your agent or your lawyer, whoever's looking at the contract at the end of the day, is not doing you due justice. So
Right.
I don't know the particulars of the New York Rangers NHL contract, but I'm assuming there's not much in there regarding per day promotional type things like that. So
Right.
and then honestly, and this is the true question here, is how much money can you sell for your soul?
Right.
You know.
Well,
And
I'm going to use Kyrie as an example, Cap. Kyrie Irving. I'm going to use Kyrie Irving as an example of my principle. This is a principle argument here. Kyrie Irving put up a link to a video that he watched that is on Amazon.
Yep.
And it was talking about basically, I think the premise of the whole thing is that Black people are also Jews and they come from one of the 12 tribes, and
Right.
they're the real that they're actually really Semites. So it's impossible for Black people to be anti-Semite if Black people by nature, if you go through the lineage and from what they believe, all Black people are Jews anyway. So it's impossible for you to hate Jews if you are one. So
I'm assuming you disagree with that because of our last conversation when it came to race, right?
Well, for me, I can only say what they believe. I don't really have the knowledge to say one way or the other. I have not gone through all the lineages to see who came from where.
Oh
Right.
no. What I'm saying, not to cut you off, and I'll let you further expand, is like because in our last video, when we had that the black officers, how they did Tyree,
Mm-hmm.
in that thing, you said that you can believe Black people can be racist against their own kind. I mean,
No,
I
I'm
think
just saying
taking
that this is their
no,
argument.
no, 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 no. I know. I'm saying what I'm saying is you like I don't know. To me, that saying that they're because they're Jewish, they can't be anti-Semitic. Like that's I don't know. That's I feel like that's mental
But that's their
gymnastics.
argument, not mine.
Right. No, no, no. I know. I'm not saying it's yours. I'm
Yeah,
saying
I'm
from
just
my
state.
from my
Yeah.
viewpoint, it's weird. It's a weird. But keep going. Keep going.
But I mean, it's not weird to them.
Mm,
So I have to just accept it for what they believe. They put a lot of time and money into that. So they
right.
must really believe it. And it's really not up to me to tell them what to believe, which is kind of the theme
Fair.
of today's podcast when you think about it.
Right.
So Kyrie did nothing but post the link to the documentary
Mm-hmm.
on Twitter. That's all he did.
Mm-hmm.
Now people came after him. Oh, there's a lot of anti this in there, and there's a lot of false stuff there. And he literally did not say anything. Do you know what the New Jersey Nets, how they responded to it? They tried to force him to make a statement to
Yeah.
espouse a viewpoint that he does not hold. And they
Right.
suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team. Now, if he would have come out and said something that was anti-Jew, I would have been fine with the suspension. But where I draw the line is they suspended him for not saying something they wanted him to say. He kept his fucking mouth shut.
Right. Right.
How can you punish somebody? And the thing is, we hear all the time about how we're so happy we don't live in China and North Korea and all these other places where you're not allowed to speak your mind, and nobody can compel you to offer false testimony. Right? We talk
Yeah.
about this is the land of the free, but you're going to suspend the guy for conduct detrimental because he did not say the words you wanted to force him to say. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I have a
mean,
problem with that.
I mean, I think with these, and this is, it's such a weird space, right? Because fundamentally, I agree with you. I think you should be able to have your viewpoint, and whatever you want to say is what you want to say. But with how the language of some of these contracts are done, that they can get you conduct detrimental or conduct unbecoming, just for having a really funny tweet, right? It's just, I agree. We shouldn't be stifling individuals' voices because we want to placate money or we want to placate a certain group. Like I'm not I'm not in line with Kyrie Irving's line of thinking. I think, quite frankly, not the brightest fucking bulb in the
Right.
box, but he has the right and should have the freedom to say whatever he wants to say, as long as he's not out there being like, let's go hang shy some people or some shit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. Say what you want to say.
But the thing is, he didn't say anything. And for people to treat him that way when he did not say anything and then did not say what they wanted to force him to say, that's the problem that I have. Now, Zippy, I'm gonna explain to you the difference. There's a difference between a Hebrew person of Jewish descent and somebody that practices Judaism. True. So they both come back as Jew. Okay. But there is a difference between someone being of Jewish descent and somebody conforming to Judaism. Those are two different things. So you can have people who are Jews or who adhere to Judaism but are not ethnic Jews. You have ethnic Jews, Israelis, who do not adhere to Judaism. They are still Jews. Right. And then you have people who are Jews, both ethnically and culturally.
Spiritually. Yeah.
Right. So those are different things. I know it's a little confusing because, there's no Christian race. Right.
Yeah,
but
there is. Yeah, there is.
Yeah, it is an it's an ethnicity and religion. And you can have all right. So, so when it comes to the New York Rangers players and Provorov, I think that nobody should be compelled to champion a cause that they don't agree with. And so I just think that as long as you're not harming anybody or you're not inciting the violence, you're not yelling fire in a crowded movie theater, as long as you're not doing any of those things, that is fine. But we should not be heading into a society where we should all be forced to celebrate one faction or another, because then we'd be living in North Korea. That's what we'd be doing.
You know what I'll say? The NHL...
It is fascism at its worst.
The NHL and Gary Bettman has really handled this the best out of any of the leagues. Funny enough, I think the NBA is the most restrictive out of any of the leagues in some sense, because when you had certain people come out talk about China, right? The NBA put a kibosh on that really quick, and then you even had your biggest star, LeBron James, try to defend China when he had no real knowledge of the subject.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't defending China. He was defending Hong Kong, and because obviously Hong Kong had a threat to their right to free living. Because remember that they were a British colony for 99 years, and then when that lease was up, they were kind of autonomous, but technically under the purview of China. But now China moved in a couple of years ago to actually take over Hong Kong and bring them fully under Chinese rule, where journalism would be impacted, free speech would be impacted, free right of travel, all of these things. LeBron James spoke up for the freedom of the people of Hong Kong. And then when China went at him and then they started like boycotting, they even took in China, they took the NBA off the air there. Also, there was one of the higher ups of the Houston Rockets at the time, where he also spoke up in defense of the people of Hong Kong. And then once China made had a big fit about it, I don't know if the guy that was with the Rockets, I don't know if he walked back his comments, but LeBron walked back his comments.
Well, but that's what I was actually trying to say is when Daryl Morey came out and said...
Daryl Morey, thank you.
Yeah, came out and said that China... LeBron, and I quote, saying, "Oh well, Morey doesn't really know what he's talking about," and stuff like that, talking about the Chinese government. That's what I'm talking about. And
no, that was the second thing that he said. And LeBron was talking about himself. He wasn't talking about Morey. He actually he seconded what Morey said.
No, he was talking about Morey. I remember this quite vividly. I don't want to get into the weeds, and we can have this in further conversation. But regardless, I feel like the NBA in some ways is restrictive. I think the NFL can be restrictive as well. and they force these certain narratives onto players. And I think, just quite frankly, the only thing they care about is the bottom line. And I'm not saying the
Hmm.
NHL doesn't care about the bottom line as well, but I appreciate the fact that they let their players have their own unique viewpoints on the world and don't try to force things down their throat.
Right.
That's kind of my thing.
Now, so this one says I should be able to be a vegan, but if I work at McDonald's, I should still ask if you want the burger deal a day with your fries and with a smile. But in the NHL, your job is not to pander to certain political groups. Your job is to play hockey.
Yeah.
So when they signed these contracts, they did not sign these contracts with the hopes that they can pander to different social and political groups. They signed the contract, and the contract says that you're going to show up to all practices, you're going to show up to all games on time, you're going to do what the coach says to do on the ice. When your shift is over, you come back to the bench. You're going to try not to engage in behavior that's going to bring meaningless penalties. They sign contracts to play hockey, not pander to alphabet soup, and that's the difference.
Right. And I mean, I think we kind of made our point regarding these two
Yeah.
subjects. I think it's just more about freedom of expression and allowing
Yeah.
people to be their own individuals.
Yeah.
One subject that I think is actually really interesting that it's weird, right? And if you're fine with me transitioning to the next one, is Dominic Hasek. Dominic Hasek is actually my favorite goalie of all time.
Well, before we get into the Dominator, we're just going to say that the Dominator is inspiring this conversation. But can you go back? Can you go all the way back to what touched all of this off?
This touched off is man, this was a while ago, but I remember the UCC in Canada.
No, before that.
Oh, before that.
We're talking about the invasion of Ukraine by Russia.
I thought you meant in hockey regards, but yeah, I mean, yeah, with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, yes, that's where this is kind of touched because that's right on his country's back door.
Right.
You know, and
they were part of the Soviet Union and the Czech Republic.
Correct, and there's no love lost between those groups. So there, those people and the other people. So the Czech Republic doesn't look highly on Russia as a whole, with how much they kind of do their bullying tactics and etc.
Are they part of NATO? Czechoslovakia, are they part of NATO?
I don't believe so. I would have to check that.
Yeah, I'm going to check too.
But I don't believe so because I think most of the countries right on their back door aren't allowed to be in NATO. That's the thing. Oh, they are in NATO in 1999.
Yeah. I knew it. So
okay.
yeah, it's
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, the Czech Republic is very there's, like you said, no love lost between them and the progenitor of the Soviet Union.
So, like, when it comes down to the Czech Republic, and they've had some, like, legends like Jaromír Jágr, Dominic Hasek, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. And I think when it kind of comes down to it, like, Dominic Hasek, like, my all-time favorite goaltender, in my opinion, the greatest goaltender
of all time.
He's the greatest goalie in all time, in my opinion. I think he was better than Watt. I think he's better than Brodeur. Just because he did so much more with so little around him, right? Like, if you put Hasek in New Jersey, he's winning like 5-6 cups. You put Hasek in Colorado, he's winning a few more cups. Or in Montreal in Wall's earlier career, he's winning a few cups. He was that dominant. Like, he won league MVPs as a goalie, which is unheard of. The guy was just otherworldly amazing. But getting into the politics is that, he's not really had much favorable comments regarding Ovechkin in the NHL regarding the NHL's kind of support, or not even really just necessarily support, but NHL's coverage of Ovechkin, how Ovechkin should be not even allowed to play in the NHL because he's from Russia. And to me, I feel like these comments miss the mark so much. I mean, dude, you had Ovechkin Jr. go on the ice with Sidney Crosby and Alexander Ovechkin in a All-Star game, and you had Hasek screaming, old man screaming at the clouds, saying, like, how dare the NHL? Russia, he should be in Russia fighting in Ukraine. Like, just wild comments. And I'm like, dude, like, it's a little kid playing in an all-star game with his dad who's probably going to retire in a few years. And yes, what Russia has done, I'm not condoning it. but not every single Russian citizen is to blame for Russia's action. Because quite frankly, every United States of America citizen would be in a world of hurt if we had to answer for every single time we've been involved in a conflict. I feel like the absolute absurdity of people and the two-handedness. It's like, dude, the two-facedness, I should say. It's like, let's be honest, man. Most countries do fucked up shit, right? I mean, they get involved in wars and the conflicts, and they send young men to their death, right? Young men, politicians, old men fight wars young people die for, right? That's just the unfortunate truth of the society we live in, and I feel like in some degree it's human nature because we're greedy and we want to have power, that when certain people get into those positions, they get power hungry and they want to leave a legacy behind that will last hundreds, if not thousands of years, right? That's why you had great conquerors like Alexander the Great. You had like the Roman Empire. Like, dude, you had so many empires and countries just dominate other... But did I just
that was fun.
But the thing is though, I agree with you. The US gets involved in too much shit that is none of our fucking business at the end of the day.
Yep.
I mean, quite frankly, we have fought proxy wars against Russia.
Oh yeah. In Syria.
Armoring people
Libya.
that later on would become our enemies that we trained. Right? Yep. Because we bat to have our nose in every single fucking aspect. And then the counterpoint is, well, Paul. Yep, exactly. And the counterpoint is like, Paul, like, but if we don't, like, they're just going to have people take over. I mean, I guess there's a other side to the argument, but let's be honest. Nobody would be allowed to play in any other professional league if we just said, oh, well, they're from here, and they did this war, this atrocity at this certain date. They're not allowed to play because it's a black eye on the league. I mean, you got to miss me with some of that absurd bullshit.
Yeah, we've got a lot of comments from the first time that we talked about this subject, and a lot of people were talking about how, you know, we need to not let him play and all of these different things. We were talking about that weird thing in Canada, that weird organization in Canada that nobody fucking knew about until they started.
Until then,
right? And Xenon hits the nail right on the head. And I've been saying this from the beginning. If Ovechkin was really anti-war, he has said all he can say without drawing the ire of Vladimir Putin. You know why? Because he lives in fucking Moscow. Yep. Do you know what happens to his family if he even says, you know what? I think that this is sad.
Yep.
Bad things happen to his family. Like, I was watching a YouTube video about actually it's from the Infographic Show. They got like millions of subscribers, right?
I've seen their content, yeah.
They just did a video talking about all of the conspiracy theories that are coming out of all of the Russian oligarchs that have mysteriously died. We're talking about guys worth 50 million, 250 million, into the billions. And they're he just fell out of the remember we actually did this video, right? Yeah, he just fell out the hospital window. Yeah. This guy just fell out of a window in DC. Oh, this guy was really sad after the best thing that ever happened to him in his life. And he murdered himself and his family with an axe. Yeah. He murdered himself with an axe? How does that work? Right? Work like, like people who are famous and powerful that they are the oligarchs of Russia. And a whole bunch of them have died under mysterious circumstances simply because they say, you know what? I think we should go about this the diplomatic route.
I mean, have you seen what has happened that people run against Putin? They've either mysteriously died or they've gotten poisoned. And one guy survived it. One guy survived it, and you saw a huge chemical reaction on his rash on his face, just swollen up, looking bad. I mean, and this is no disrespect.
I think he's dead. They said that he's in a prison.
Is he?
They said he's in a prison, but I think he's dead because he's the leader of like the he's the leader of the party that's anti-Putin.
Yeah,
like he's an actual real politician. and then they arrested him on some fake ass fraud charges, some fraudulent fraud charges, something like that, and sent him to a penal colony, I think the man's dead. I think
Probably
he's dead.
I mean, when it kind of comes down to it, though, right?
But they want Ovi to do that, and you see his young son, right?
That's what I was gonna say. Ovechkin, in the grand scheme of things, he's made millions of dollars, and he's had endorsement deals compared to most hockey players, more than most, right? He's nothing money-wise to Putin or the oligarchs that have been
He's broke compared to them.
So, I mean, let's kind of be transparent here. Look what happened to Artemi Panarin when he spoke out about Russia. Then some mysterious charges come up from years ago. He has to go back to Russia because his parents are getting death threat. And you notice he doesn't talk about Russia at all anymore publicly.
Nope.
At all.
You don't hear Igor say anything about them. Shesterkin.
No, they don't. And while they might not, they'll probably don't agree with what's going on, and they don't agree in the atrocity that's happening within their own government. But let's be very fair. If you were in that situation, are you fucking speaking out? Most likely not. So, I mean, if I had family members down there, I would try to get them out of the country. But let's also be very clear. It's not as easy as that. Russia could hold them as bargaining chips, so they don't say anything publicly.
I mean, imagine not being able to go to the hospital and you can't avoid falling out a window.
I mean, like, come on. And I just get, like, and it sucks because Dominik Hasek is a personal favorite of mine, and I think the greatest of all time. But when it kind of comes down to it, it's like old man screaming at clouds. And I get it. The Czech Republic should feel some type of way about Russia, and they should feel that animosity, especially with how things kind of went out when they formed as a country. But when it kind of comes down to it, Hasek, stop being so ignorant.
Realize if he was in Ovi's position, what would he do? Would he risk his family's life?
No. And you know what? If he did that, if he did do that, I mean, maybe he would be willing to do that and risk other people's lives, but most people aren't going to, have their family killed to make a political point. And, I mean, it's very
Which is why they go to kill your family, because that has that kind of effect on you.
I mean, and let's just call it what it is. It's that it's very easy to speak from a position where there's no repercussions for you speaking out.
Hello.
Right.
And the thing is, I was very disappointed to hear the Dominator speak the way he spoke on the subject. It was just disappointing. You're mad because a young kid is on the ice.
Jesus Christ.
It's
like it's just yelling into the ether about a 4-year. How dare him? Like how dare him?
What part of that makes you look like a good person, Dom?
It doesn't. He looks so out of reality. Like just, and goalies can be head cases, so maybe it's some of that. But yeah, it's just, yeah. I mean,
I think about all the kids you see at the All-Star games. The MLB All-Star game, the NBA All-Star game. I mean, they stopped the Lakers game last night for 10 minutes because LeBron hit a fadeaway on somebody. They stopped the game for 10 whole minutes. The whole court is flooded with people not wearing basketball clothes. And who do you see there? LeBron's kids.
Yeah.
His wife, his mom. Shout out to Delonte West. Sorry. I shouldn't. Come on. Why am I such a bad person? I'm such a bad person. Oh, my God.
But, I mean, listen, I think when it kind of comes down to it, he missed the mark by quite a bit. So, I mean, not much else we can really say.
Yeah. It's just, NHL's got their little issues. And I kind of feel, but I also kind of feel like the NHL brought it on themselves. Stop with the fucking pandering.
Yeah.
Understand who your target demographic is. It's not alphabet soup. It's not people that look like me. We're not your target demo. We're just not. I have an interest in NHL hockey, right? It's my second favorite sport behind baseball, even though I believe that it's the most exciting sport in team North American sports, in my opinion, right? But, stop.
To be fair, though, the game has grown in more minority sectors. The problem that keeps hockey, in my opinion, from being bigger than it is, it's just how expensive it is to fucking play. I mean, the equipment itself for a young person that is constantly growing, dude, it's like thousands of dollars, and not
Yeah.
everyone has those type of means to do that. You know,
I mean, people think that
I was
Zamboni
blessed.
is a kind of pasta.
I think we talked about this quite a bit, and I mean, let's just kind of end out the show by saying this. So, like, what do you long term? What would you think fixes these type of situations with the NHL?
I
Do you
just
think they
said it.
should?
Stop pandering.
So do you think they should do away with these nights?
I think all sports should do away with all of this pandering stuff to whatever group. Just
Yeah.
just stop with the pandering. Keep it on the goddamn sports.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a weird. So I guess I'm kind of conflicted on this, right? Because I think if they want an organization when they want to do whatever they want to do, fine. I don't necessarily see any harm in having these nights, but I do believe you just can't force your players to do it.
Right.
I mean, if you want to do that, that's cool, but realize not everyone's going to want to support it. But then,
But the thing is, you're opening yourself up for that, though. You're opening yourself up because you know that not everybody's on board with alphabet soup.
But the thing is, I could say the same thing with the NFL now standing up for racial injustice. Should they stop doing that?
No, that's just pandering, and I don't think they should do it either because it's a racist league. That's just what it is.
Oof, as long as you keep that same energy. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that.
Keep that same energy.
Keep that same energy. So, I mean, how do you want to wrap up the show? We kind of talked about maybe talking about what's going on with us or yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, well, we got some comments. JL is, I don't know what it is, but it is so chic. It is so popular to hate on Dagestani fighters. So we're talking about the UFC. Islam Makhachev is the lightweight champion. Alex Volkanovski is the featherweight champion. So they are 10 pounds apart, 145-pound champion, moving up to 155 to fight the new champion there. And it's just really crazy that there's so much hate for Dagestani fighters. Like, I remember when Khabib was winning all those fights in a row, a lot of the people that I know that hate the Dagestani fighters picked against him every single time, and he's destroying. No, the next guy is going to beat him. No, the next guy is going to beat him. No, the next. And it's like, no, he is destroying these guys. As far as my opinion, on the fight, I think Volkanovski has a really good chance of winning the fight, and here's why. I'm picking Makhachev until I see him lose, because I'm not an idiot. But I think that Volkanovski has a chance to win this fight, mainly because people don't understand this about Alex Volkanovski. He was a rugby player that had a 205-pound playing weight. Like, that dude packed on. He is used to being hit hard in a bigger body by bigger people. So just like off of that alone, I think that Volkanovski, especially since he's been like really bulking up, Volkanovski has a really good chance to win because his center of gravity is lower. So I don't care if you're the best sambo wrestler in the world, you are going to have problems taking somebody down that has a much lower center of gravity than you. So I'm still going to pick Islam simply because it's the smart pick, but I'm not sleeping on Alex at all. Let me go through more of this. It says, I mean, yes, with that argument, yes, people disagree. They want more racism, but no, my argument is not that the NFL should continue to be racist. My thing is, you are racist. Stop trying to pretend that you're not. Like, stop with the pandering, because it doesn't mean anything. Because in the grand scheme of things, your policies are still anti-black. And it's anti-black across the board. How you hire coaches, how you treat people.
I got to push back on that, though. They have Rooney rules. They've had more black coaches than ever. They have more black quarterbacks than ever, right? I'm not saying there wasn't some ignorance before, back in the older days where you had Some weirdos have the philosophy that black people couldn't be quarterback because they didn't have the brain power. That used to be a thing, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, I think they've taken a massive step forward, and you do see like there's been more black coaches. Like one of the more longest tenured guys in the NFL right now is Mike Tomlin, and he's a black head coach.
Remember what I
I
told
mean,
you about the chick that looked like Mike Tomlin?
oh yeah, I do. I remember that shit.
But the thing is, like, they made up the Rooney Rule to pander because they said you have to interview. And then you know what they do? They have their select few that they know they're going into an interview that they're not going to get the job. They know this. And it's something that is widely publicized, it's widely documented. So I'm not saying that there should be more. Obviously, I would prefer if there was less racism than more racism, obviously. But my thing is don't pretend that you are something that you're not. When the guy went to go speak up on behalf of people who have been killed by police unarmed, you got him up out of the league. And when George Floyd was killed, oh, we have to make an apology to Colin Kaepernick. Yeah, because you knew what you did was wrong to begin with. Oh, and you still didn't right that wrong because it's lip service. I don't need the lip service. I don't need it. So that's just my opinion on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think that Islam is just a much better fighter than when he got KO'd. And that's why he's won who knows how many fights in a row. And the thing is about Islam, I think Islam is 95% of the wrestler that Habib was, but he's twice the striker. So if Volkanovski wins, it'll be very, very impressive. I'd be super impressed. If Makhachev wins the fight, somebody will just say, well, the next guy is going to beat him because they want him to lose. That's the way I see it. I just see it so many times. But no, like I didn't even see this comment yet. But if he said when, if Volk wins, I'll be seriously impressed because I thought that Volk lost the second fight to Holloway, but he beat the shit out of Holloway in that third fight. I mean, he did to Holloway what Holloway normally does to other fighters. That shit was impressive. So he definitely earned my respect there.
I mean,
but he's got to win the fight first. Let him win the fight, and then we could talk all of this.
I want to talk about Zian's comment here real quick. Is the, I mean, yeah, I mean that's what.
Oh yeah, that was a real thing.
That was absolutely a real thing. I'm not just making that up. That like, why do you think Warren Moon had to go to like the CFL, the Canadian Football League, to show that he could still be a good quarterback? And then he comes to the NFL and he just absolutely tears it up with the Oilers. So I mean, like that was a that was kind of a caricature that coaches used to have, and it was stupid and idiotic. I agree, and just downright racist. But I mean, that's why before there used to be such a lack of black quarterbacks, and I mean now there's way less of that. I mean, you see more diversity at the quarterback position than ever before, and quite frankly, there was some subtle racist undertones with the mobile quarterback discussion too.
Right? I'm glad you brought that up because I was about to go there.
So like. You know, like if you could run and stuff like that, you couldn't be successful. Now, I think to a degree, I do believe you need to throw the football. You can't just run. But I mean, now more than ever, we're seeing like a mobile quarterback is freaking dangerous. I mean, and
they were always dangerous, even Tebow, and he's not even black.
Well, I mean,
he won a playoff game.
Yeah, he won a playoff game, but that man could not throw a football. But when it
he won a playoff game.
He wanted to play. It was against the Steelers, so like whatever, it was expected. But I think when it came down to it,
you're just a. Now I know you're a Steelers hater. Now I know you're a Steelers hater because that's some bullshit.
But when it kind of comes down to
rapist burger, fucking there.
Yeah, Ben Roethlisberger. But like when it comes down to it, in my opinion, is that you see now guys like I know you don't watch the league anymore, but you have Jalen Hurts out there. You have so many active, even Kyler Murray, even though he's had his issues. Patrick Mahomes is extremely mobile. I mean, you have some white guys like Aaron Rodgers when his prime, he was mobile and pretty good about it. And I think it's been kind of like a transfer. It's been transforming over the years and evolving over the years that mobile quarterbacks are more favorably looked upon. And before it was because the only athletic quarterbacks were the black ones. So it was like, oh, you can't win with a mobile quarterback. And I feel like that's where that started from, in my opinion.
Yeah, because it was thought that black players were not intelligent enough to be able to play the quarterback position and to read defenses. When Matus Gamrot smokes Islam Makhachev, what will you say? I would be very happy because I'm a Gamrot fan. I really like Matus Gamrot a lot. And if he smokes him, he will have earned it. And that's I'd be very, very impressed. This is a really interesting comment.
Oh,
Thoughts
Skip
on Skip
Bayless.
Bayless milking the DeMar injury because he was wanting to sound different and got clicks. You want to take this?
Skip Bayless, while entertaining and can be very provocative, is a fucking clown. Now, I will say this. I saw the tweet, and I think people overreacted to the tweet. What he said, the tweet prior, saying, saying, what are the ramifications? How will this happen? How can the league not finish this game with the playoff implications? And then he said ... But at the end of the day, this all seems meaningless. I don't have the tweet in front of me, but I did a video on that. I think that was taken way out of context. Mind you, Skip Bayless. I'm not a fan of these debate shows. And as a sports fan, it used to be a novel thing.
Yeah.
Like First Take and Undisputed. It's boring to me because I already
know
cold pizza when it used to be fucking fire. Yeah. But when it's just turned into Skip likes Michael Jordan and hates LeBron. Shannon loves LeBron James. So regardless of what any of them do, like if LeBron walked on water, Skip Bayless says MJ could fly. Right? It doesn't fucking matter, and it's just annoying. I hate the debate shows because they're so fake, and they're like, oh, well, this is my authentic opinion, and this is all that. No, it's not. Because there's nothing.
You're playing to a crowd.
To a shtick and to a character. And in my opinion, what I hate about some of these debaters is like, me and you have had dialogue and conversations about so many different subjects. It's okay to be wrong and to new information come out and you correct yourself. With some, they'll double and triple and quadruple down. I mean, the only person I've seen in debating, and I hate Max Kellerman because he's just a fake white boy to me. I hate him. He just comes off unauthentic to me. And maybe it's just me. He's just unauthentic to me. But I'll give him this. He finally walked back the Tom Brady statements. But I mean, for Skip Bayless, I thought that tweet was overblown. Overblown. Yeah. But I get why people don't like him because it's just, I don't know. Just
maybe if somebody else would have said it, it would have had a less impactful. But the thing is, I hate that people get mad at you stating the obvious. Like, if you do not continue the game and both of these teams are at the top of their conferences and there are playoff implications, these are questions that still need answers. Like, why are you mad that an obvious question is being asked? Like, I didn't like that very much. We're gonna go David Patter. Thank you for joining us, David Patter. Okay, I'm gonna go through 3 comments from JL. Thank you for your participation. These are all about Makhachev. So I'm just gonna kind of go through these rapid fire. Islam has been very arrogant this week. He would be humbled, saying Izzy is a bad example, yet has accomplished more and faced more competitive fighters and is closer to GOAT than Islam. Shows some respect. Islam has 0 defenses, talking bold and bad about Izzy, yet had 6 defenses and was fighting 2 to 3 times a year. Man, he is getting a big head difference between confidence and arrogance. There's also a difference between no punctuations and, good punctuation. So I can actually understand the sentences. But his fans say he's confident, yet if Izzy said the same thing, he would be labeled as cocky and disrespectful. Man, I cannot wait for Izzy to knock out Alex and let him enjoy his Pena moment. Okay, let me go through all of this. I think that Islam is not talking about what Izzy has done in the cage necessarily. I think it's something with the persona. Islam Makhachev is like, and to a larger extent, Khabib, they're not in on ring girls. They don't like all the flash. They just want the fights. They want people, to show dominance in the cage and shut up. That is what their perception of the sport is. One of the things that I think was a little bit contradictory on the part of Makhachev is that you're going to say this about Izzy, but then also complain that Dana did not promote your fight with Volkanovski. Like, number one, it's your job to promote your fight so it can sell pay-per-views. And number two, why would you want all of this promotion, but also be mad because somebody else is boastful and they've actually earned the right to be boastful? Now, Izzy has had some fights where he did not look good in those fights. I still had him losing the fight, his last fight against Whitaker. I had him losing 3-2. Even though I thought Izzy looked like the better fighter, when I actually went round by round, Whitaker won 3 of the 5 rounds, even though I thought Izzy was the better fighter. So I just think that Islam is probably just running his mouth to sell the fight because he believes the UFC is not selling it. Normally, Makhachev doesn't say much about anything at all, which is part of the reason why he doesn't have that many fans. He doesn't really talk too much about anything. Let's go back to the talking heads situation here. JL says, yeah, but why is Skip's first concern about ad money? Are you serious? We know he just wants to sound different. Don't defend that. No excuses. Guy with the fucked up hairline is annoying. He's a character, but the fact that he had the nerve to talk about MMA is disrespectful. Bisping schools him covering all sports. Fucking Joe Rogan schools him. We're going to agree mostly on the second point. I'm going to have to kind of think about that first point. What do you got to say about that first point, Cap?
Am I sitting here defending Skip Bayless's tweet? I guess to a degree.
I'm going to defend the tweet, not necessarily the man.
And that's the problem, because I'm actually going to pop up the tweet here in a second. I mean, the way, was it probably the perfect way to fucking send the message? No. But I mean, if we're going to stop grandstanding and actually look at his timeline and what he said in sequence about the injuries, and he even said thoughts and prayers and hope he kind of recovers. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I get where some people are very sensitive to the subject because what happened, his heart stopped. They had to resuscitate him on the field.
Yeah.
I get that. But here it is. You want to know what he said before this, right? Not exactly sure what happened to Damar Hamlin. Players on both teams are shaken. Ambulance out on the field. CPR administered. Can't remember the play being stopped for this length of time. Just said a prayer for him and his family. Okay.
That's the first thing he said.
That was the first thing he said. So let's keep
and
that
of
same
course,
energy.
nobody looked at that tweet.
The other tweet in succession. I've seen many horrific injuries suffered on football fields, yet never have I seen a reaction like this. In every other situation I've witnessed or covered, the game has always went on fairly quickly. The attitude was, hey, that's football. For these players, this was different.
Yeah, definitely different.
This is what he had to say. This is the tweet that got him in hot water. And I want your opinion on this.
Okay.
No doubt the NFL is considering postponing the rest of this game, but how? This late in the season, a game of this magnitude is crucial to the regular season outcome, ... which suddenly seems so irrelevant.
I just think people just, and the thing is, I'm not a Skip Bayless fan. I love the fact that he rocks those Jordans the way he does. I love the fact that he is loyal to his wife. I love the fact that, he's very in on physical fitness and all these things. That said, I'm not a Skip Bayless fan.
No,
but
either.
There's a bunch of people that I'm not fans of that I'm not going to just start, trying to assume the worst about people simply because I don't like them, or trying to take their words and spin them some other way because I don't like them. I'm just not built that way. I'm going to call it down the middle. Like, we had some fucking losers talking about us, and I'm just like, well, we still have to be fair to them.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
because that's how I process these things, right?
But
so
I
even
think,
the people I don't like I gotta call it the way it is, even if I'm biased against them personally.
I'm gonna just kind of follow up to this one. What he said, J Day said, no one said that, but why is he downplaying it? Yes, he acknowledged the injury. Wow, he deserves a medal for his concern, but then has the nerve to zero in on the money loss. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Okay, so and this is where I think
it's
people,
still a thing, though.
I think this is where people, to me, in my opinion, kind of take the worst. And I'm like, this is weird because I don't like to defend Skip Bayless. So this
I
is
know,
weird for me.
but it's almost
But-
like saying
well,
somebody's the Antichrist because they paid for 1,000 people to get their eyesight back.
You're being
But you filmed it.
You're being disingenuous if you're not understanding. If you think, oh, it's just about the money. No, it's also about playoff seeding. Because remember, because of this incident, unfortunate incident that happened, and thank God he's well and he's back to being healthy. There was actually going to be a neutral site if certain teams won. Like it messed up the whole playoff thing. So just stop. Like I'm like, come on.
My thing is that everybody was thinking it, and that's another thing too. Like I get that other people didn't say it, but I don't watch the sport. I didn't watch any of that stuff, right? No. But I do know, even the people that got on him for saying it, they were all thinking the same thing.
I mean, dude, even the Bengals player like Joe Burrow, right? Because there was going to be a possibility if the Bengals lost in that round, there was going to be a neutral site between those two teams that could have played. And he's like, oh, well, hopefully all those fans get a refund for that neutral site, and like just walked off after the interview. Right. And I mean, but nobody was happy. No one's blaming DeMar Hamlin what happened, because that was just it was such a freak. It was just such a freak accident that would happen. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Yeah, but at the time, nobody knew that at the time.
Nobody knew. I'm not disagreeing. I mean, the Chiefs, I like, Bills did get spanked. But, I mean, listen, I'm not a Skip Bayless fan. I think the debate show shit is just tiresome as a whole. I actually like when Skip Bayless has that YouTube show, or Shannon Sharp has his YouTube show, and I'm not a big fan of the Skip Bayless. Skip, I think, is a decent guy, just kind of, it's boring to me. I mean, I do like Shannon's production outside of Undisputed, because I think it's more authentic, and like those are more entertaining to me than just two guys arguing about the same fucking topic 365 days out the year. Because how many Cowboys, Lakers, like LeBron, like how many subjects of that matter? Tom Brady, and I'm a Tom Brady guy, but it's like, dude, like he's not Jesus Christ himself. Like there's other interesting athletes you could talk about.
Didn't they say he was on Family Guy?
They did, yeah. So, but I mean, shoot, I think we kind of talked about a lot. Yeah. We went a little bit longer than we thought, but
yeah. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for your participation in this podcast today, episode number 59. The NHL has lots of political issues right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that you had some really good points. I think that you probably need to go back and look at the LeBron thing, because LeBron took the usual liberal viewpoint, and then when somebody told him, "Hey, that's too big of a market for you to be talking about," and a lot of LeBron's shoes are sold in China, then he backtracked and said that he doesn't know what he's talking about, and he should not have spoke on it, and that's why I went back to not liking LeBron, because I'm like, yo, you're always talking about this, you're always talking this shit about freedom and racial, and then when you do actually go and say something that's actually right, but you're about to lose some money, all of a sudden you're going to backtrack. Oh, well, I had to backtrack on my because look at all the people that would lose out on a job if China would stop dealing with the NBA. Nah, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying it. No. Just not. Nope. I don't know about this. I will tell you this. The Flames are still seeing Jacob Trouba when they go to sleep.
Yo, that hit was beast. That was old time hockey. I absolutely love it. And another thing you said.
Can we talk about that real quick?
Real quick, but let me talk about we'll go into that. But the Brady should have retired after the Bucs Super Bowl. Absolutely agree with you. But yeah, let's talk about the Kyrie is a diva. Yeah, he's a team. He's like a Terrell Owens of the NBA.
Yes, thank you. You put it in the perfect terms, Cap.
Terrell Owens.
I felt disrespected there. I should be celebrated, not tolerated. You're still with the flat Earth bullshit.
You know how much that pisses me off, because I have to do corrections with fucking trigonometry.
Everywhere you go, you're the problem, Kyrie. Everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And absolutely. LeBron can play with anybody.
Yeah.
He could not play with you. You had young stars coming up in Boston, in Tatum and the other guy, right?
Tatum and Brown, yep.
Right? And the whole team wanted you off the team.
Yeah.
And then you go to New Jersey, and they don't want to deal with you.
I like how you call it New Jersey because you don't want to recognize them as Brooklyn.
Jeremy Lewis is here. Yeah, Kyrie Irving. There's something that old Shea Duke Jackson says all the time. He says, wherever you go, there you are.
Yep.
That's Kyrie Irving. It's always somebody else's fault. It's always somebody else. No, Kyrie, it's you. Yeah. You're the problem.
He's like I said, he'll be a Hall of Famer, but he's the Terrell Owens of the NBA. Very selfish, destroys teams. And I actually wanted to mention that when he played with the Celtics and you had a young Tatum and young Brown, if he actually dedicated himself and wasn't a locker room cancer, and listen, I'm an expert on cancer. I think he would have kind of they could have won a championship, but he's all about himself. He didn't like other people getting shine. And he was like, he's a toxic person, and I'm glad he's gone because it's just been proven. Without LeBron, Kyrie can't win shit. Without LeBron, Kyrie Irving cannot win a championship because he needs to ride on the coattails of someone else. I mean, he is just never going to buy in. He was butthurt a little bit that he didn't go to the Lakers and he's in Dallas. I mean, Luka Doncic, I don't know how that's going to work out because Luka's a ball-dominant player. So maybe Kyrie will
I said this. And somebody argued me on the point. And I'm just all right.
He's a ball-dominant player. Like, how the fuck is that going to work? Because Kyrie's going to be like, I want the ball, I want this. And he's a very selfish individual. I mean, you know who looks even stupider in all this is Kevin Durant. You left the Golden State Warriors because you got online bullied, right? And you joined someone that was mentally unstable in Brooklyn. You're an idiot.
David Banner, if we're going to be fair to Kyrie didn't actually say these things. Kyrie just put up a link of a documentary that he watched. He didn't actually make any statements about Jewish people at all until he was forced to make a false fake ass apology because they suspended him and would not let him earn his money. So if we're going to be if we're going to be fair to Kyrie didn't actually say any of these things. This is just things that were espoused in the documentary that he linked to. He didn't say that he agreed with the documentary. That's all he did. And everybody jumped on him for it.
I mean, to be fair though, when you're sharing something, it's kind of like, this is something I'm either standing behind or this is something that I think is interesting. I don't know. I get what you're saying. You never outright said it, but there's kind of tones there.
But there's no tone. If he didn't say anything, we can't put words in a man's mouth. And like I said, I don't like him.
I don't like him either.
I don't want people to put words in my mouth, and I'm definitely not going to put words in another man's mouth.
If you shared a movie that was like spouting facts that African Americans aren't truly African Americans, they're from outer space, and they're not truly human beings, or some wild stupid shit, right? And you just shared it on your Twitter with no context, nothing. People are going to think like you believe that. Right?
Yeah, but I'm not responsible for what other people think. I'm only responsible for what I say.
I get, to a degree I can agree with that, but I feel like, I don't know, he's like the ultimate fucking minefield. Like just whatever he does, it explodes in people's faces.
Yeah, because he's dumb.
Yeah.
Because he's dumb. And it's okay to be dumb. You can't be dumb and also a locker room cancer. And one of the things that I need to tell you guys, because I know for a fact that Kyrie is not anti-Jew. I know this for a fact. You know why? Because I know people who know him because they went to the same school with him at the same time.
Oh, you were telling me that,
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Like the guy that made him Duke ready, he went to a Jewish preparatory school.
That's right.
I'm not going to tell you who it is that I know, but I can tell you for a fact that Kyrie Irving is not anti-Jew. I can tell you that for a fact.
Bars.
Okay? Like I know exactly who coached him. I know the people who know the coaches. I know the people that know him directly.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not going to put words in the man's mouth. Okay? I will say that he is really fucking gullible. That motherfucker will believe anything. He will believe in an underground pizza shop that's trafficking kids. He would believe in some shit like that because he's dumb. But you can't be a locker room cancer and be dumb.
No.
Like, choose a struggle.
I'm done.
JL says, Kyrie does understand we can be racist even though we are black. The fuck? What the fuck? Logic, black people, I notice, are low-key racist to white people, but if I say anything, I'm a race traitor. No, you're absolutely correct. Black people are very racist against other black people, and I know this from experience.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. It goes.
I've experienced that firsthand.
Yeah, it's a real fucking thing. It's a real fucking thing. It says if someone put up a post of Holocaust denying, no context, that means it's okay. But hey, free speech, yeah. You don't have to like them for it. If you're not sure what they mean about it, then you can ask them the question. And then if they feel like elaborating, that's why I always ask questions. I never assume. I always ask questions, right?
I respect your energy here, and I get it. I respect your. I just disagree. I think if you're sharing shit on social media and you think that like you're kind of just putting it out there, like boom, look at this knowledge, look at this information, and kind of, I don't know. I think people need to be more intelligent with how they use Twitter. Because let's say he doesn't believe that, right? Because like,
but he's stupid. I just finished saying that. Now you get my point. You need to be more smart. Your premise is done in the trash. We're talking about Kyrie Irving. He's stupid. Stop. Stop with the argument. Like,
I'm done. I like how that's the acceptable answer. He's just a dumb motherfucker.
Like, stop. Stop.
Oh my god, I'm crying. Oh my god.
No, I'm with you, Jay. I'm with you. Because it's free speech.
Oh my god.
You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, people should be allowed to say what they want. I should not be forced to celebrate it. Which goes back to, the beginning of the podcast today. Yo, this is pretty fun. Yo, I like JL. I like him. We're going to disagree a lot. I hope you stick around. We're going to disagree on a lot of stuff, and we're going to have a lot of fun arguments. David Banner, Jeremy Lewis. Shout out to the OTS family in general, yo.
Appreciate you guys.
Otis, has been here. Xenon adding a lot to the discussion. Seditionalist. In the motherfucking building. We had a blind bat sighting today. We also had Zippy the Strange. Zippy had put something in the fucking Discord. We're gonna cover some of his commentary. We're gonna cover some of the
absolutely
the commentary.
Oh, and Jensen sent in a email. I just saw.
Yeah. You saw, right? Yeah. We're gonna talk about that because, and and the thing is, I was rooting for Alex, but I was mad at what happened because Izzy did not get knocked out. Izzy did not lose that fight. Izzy was winning at the time this all happened. He was in a little bit of trouble. Izzy did not. I was hoping that Izzy was going to lose so that he would become a little bit more humble and work harder and then come back and just start destroying guys. That's what I was hoping. But that is not the way that Izzy and the thing is, if you watch the replay, Izzy is swinging back and forth to get away from the strikes. The dude was lucid. He was defending intelligently, and they stepped in and ended the fight. And I'm still pissed off about it. If he would have actually gotten finished, I'd have been like, I would have been happy with it, right?
Right.
But I don't like the way I don't like what the referee did there. Does Shavkat Rachmanov? Is he? Wait a minute. I thought Shavkat was at like 170. Patty's at 155. They're not even in the same division. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're not even in the same division.
But all right, man. I think we should wrap it up. I gotta start heading off. My hip's starting to.
Yeah. Yeah. So really, thank you very, very much for your support of the platform. Please share the platform with other people. We're under 50 subscribers left. There's like what, 44 subscribers left till we hit 1,000. So please help us in the algorithm. Drop the dislike if you don't like us and our arguments. Drop that like button if you support the platform. Please, please do. And do what Dan Jensen does.
Send us an email.
Send us an email at talkingshippodcast@gmail.com. And let us know if there are some topics that's going on in the world that you would like us to cover on the show or in a video. We're getting very, very close to that
monetization level.
Yeah, so and you know, maybe we'll do maybe we'll do like a celebration like Lutch did, and have some people drop some super chats for us. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But we're gonna have Jeremy more for the Filthy Casual. That's gonna be really, really great. And so really, guys, I really want to thank you for I really wanted to really thank you guys. And
good conversation.
This was Patty would get no, I'm not going to use that term. Let's just say Patty will feel like he's in prison and he is bunkers with Big Bubba.
I'm done.
And on that note, we up out of here, y'all.